What's up guys, and welcome to Smithills Hall, Lancashire. So tonight me and Andy are going to be doing separate vigils. So I'm going to walk round through the courtyard and then down through the grounds, round and back to the top end of the house, the hall, and we'll see what we get. I've got the EMF meter here, and Andy's going to go. I'll just show you Andy before we set off. There he is. He's getting his stuff set up and he's going to go a different way.
You know, it'd probably be me the one who's legging it trying to find you. I'll be probably the one that's freaked out.
Well, let's just go and do it, innit?
Especially if I get asked for that.
Maybe. Okay guys, so we're going to set off now and we're going to go down through the courtyard and we're going to go looking for ghosts. Alright, so we've been here before, so some of you might have already seen some of our programmes on Smithills Hall. We've done some vigils on the outside and we've also done a full overnight on the inside. And this place has been in the newspaper many times, ghost sightings, orbs, that kind of thing. We've had different stories of the people that work here. One of the stories is connected to that room up there, the bower room, which is they used to have a cradle in there and it rocked on its own, so then they sort of fastened it to the floor to stop it from rocking. But they've had the presence of two ladies in that room up there, but it is kind of like a nursery, and I think that's why probably they have like a lady's presence. We have been inside there. If you remember the indoor vigil we did, that was the room with the big table with the pirates map on it. So tonight we're going to take a walk down around the grounds, because the grounds are haunted too. In the past, a priest, I wouldn't say a monk really, because there is no real association with, it's mostly priests. I think there probably was an order of monks like back in the 1200s. There was a handful of monks back then. The chapel's lit up tonight. I think they had a ghost investigation earlier because this hall gets hired out quite a lot, you know, for overnight investigations and things like that. So some of the lights are still on because they only left at 3 and we're here and it's 3:30, so perhaps they're still not put all the lights off yet. So anyway, we're going to walk down here and we'll get to the bottom and we'll ask out. I'll put the EMF meter out and we'll see if we get any flickering responses. So solo vigils guys, something me and Andy have been wanting to do for some time, but we've only had one camera, but now we've got a camera each, so we're able now to separate up and do separate shoots. You know, I think when you've got lots of footage, there's more chance of you catching something. And not only that, you know, you've got more chance on your own if you see something or hear something or feel something, because you've not got another person there to distract you. So these grounds belong to the hall. That path there goes down into the woods, so if you've seen our Haunted Woods episode, that's where we went to shoot that, into the woods there. All of these grounds are haunted because they belong to the hall. You can see the hall there in the distance lit up, that's the chapel bit. So I'll keep quiet for a minute and we'll walk through and we'll see if we see any orbs, if any spirit people would like to come forward and walk along this path with us and show yourselves. We'll be very happy to meet you. I'm Alison. You must be used to me by now. I've been coming up here for many years, since I was able to walk. This place being a mile from my family home, the haunted house I was telling you about. And also, even now it's only a couple of miles from where we live. It's quite creepy at night time because they've got all these benches with wreaths on, you know, for people that have departed, and the ashes scattered and that kind of thing. A lot of people love this place, so some people do want to have the ashes and things put here. There's quite a few benches like that dotted around. And the thing is, I don't really like to use EMF meters on those benches in case we bring through the spirits of the people the benches belong to. I don't want to have any confusion of spirits going on. I try to connect up with the spirits belonging to Smithills Hall. But I do know that there has been seen on these paths like a hooded figure. Now there's two hooded figures that haunt this hall. One is the figure of George Marsh, who was martyred in the 1500s, and he still haunts the interior of the hall, the George Marsh room, where he was kept imprisoned for some time before his trial. And the other figure is like more of an 1800s priest, if you like, with a long sort of frock dress and a round hat. So he's the one who's been seen in different parts of these grounds. So he's the one, if we're going to get anything out here, it's probably going to be him. As far as I know, you know, he just likes to wander around the grounds from the chapel. He's been seen going to and from the chapel. But then he'll go off on his own, either towards the woods, or he's been seen along these paths. There is a bench coming up which doesn't belong to anybody, so what we'll do is we'll stop there and put the EMF meter on it for a few minutes and see if we get anything. I think there was once when I was a kid at school, I heard there was a Victorian lady with a dog seen up here as well, like a ghost lady. And I think they picked up the name Bess. Somebody came up to do like a psychic thing on it, and they got the name Bess. So that was a Victorian lady, and she was seen on the grounds there with the dog. I remember that when I was a kid, because see, there's graves everywhere. Well, they're kind of like ashes, you know, where ashes have been sprinkled and stuff. Not graves, because that's not consecrated ground. But it looks nice lit up actually, for a change. It's normally in the dark. Alright, so we'll go over to that bench, and what we'll do is we'll set up the EMF meter and see if we get anything. We can get a good view of the hall from here. Andy will know that if he sees any torchlights, it's us, and if we see any torchlights, it's him. So right, we can get a pretty good view of the bar. Oh, there's Andy's torchlight, I can see him now. Right, what we'll do, we're going to set up, I'm going to put the EMF meter on this bench, and we'll keep an eye on that, and if that flickers. So, are there any spirit people out here tonight? There's been a ghost investigation here tonight at Smithills Hall. Has that woken you up? Has that invoked you to come forward? If so, please come forward now. I'm Alison. And I do know there is a ghost priest that walks these grounds. So if you would like to make yourself known, flicker in the EMF meter. I'll be very happy to know your presence. Making sure it's on. Yeah, it's on. It's not flickering though. Or any other ghost people. The lady who walks the dog, Bess, who's been seen around here. Would you like to come forward? Show yourself. It's quiet now, so perhaps you'd like to come forward. Just me, two ladies together. Let me see your dog. Let me hear the dog bark. If you hear any noises, guys, the rain's dripping from the trees because it hammered it down earlier. So we decided to stay in, and Andy did the invoking Astaroth demon ritual, and then we did a short talk to camera about some of the investigations we've been doing. Come and show yourself if you're here. It's very still and it's very, very quiet. The EMF hasn't flickered. I'll keep that in my hand now actually, and we'll see if we get, I'll keep an eye on it. If it flickers, we'll stop and ask out. So we're going to have a walk up the path to the Celtic Cross. And if you've seen some of our earlier programmes, we did a ritual at this Celtic Cross. We lit a pentacle with candles and summoned forth spirits. That's the lovely tones of police sirens in the background. It being probably about 4 AM now, Saturday night, Sunday morning. Same everywhere. There's the church all lit up. Let's have a look. We're lucky because they don't normally do that unless there's, you know, something on. So because they've had a paranormal tonight, they probably just forgot to put the lights off. So this is the walk. This is the main walk right to the very end. There's a Celtic cross there now, but there used to be a summer house back in the day. That's the chapel. That's where the priest has been seen coming from there and walking down towards the woods. My dad actually saw him back in about 1982, something like that. It might be a bit later, maybe 1987. He'd seen him come down that way and he followed him and he went down that way to the woods and disappeared. But the funny thing is he'd gone where there's no steps. So I'm wondering if perhaps there was steps there at one time because if ghosts walk through walls, they're walking through walls because there used to be a door there at one point. They still think the door is there and that's why they go that way. Right, that you can hear that in the background is Andy up there using his spirit talker app. So I think he's gone into the quadrangle bit, so we'll leave him to do his thing up there and give him some quiet. And the flowers here are absolutely beautiful in summer. They're like a firework of display. They're absolutely gorgeous. The gardeners here work so hard. They're always up here, and you know what? They're just beautiful. When they're all out in full bloom in August, it's like a firework display. A lot of people look after this place. We're very lucky that we have a lot of local people, you know, that work here, keeping it, you know, keeping it as it is, as though it's still lived in. It has been lived in before. The last owner, in 1936, I think it was, gambled the hall away. I'll tell you what, we'll go up to the Celtic Cross first and then we'll come back down this bit here. Yeah, the last owner of Smithills Hall, he gambled it. In London, gambling addiction. The tables in London. And he got no money left, he gambled his watches, everything he owned, he gambled. So then he decided he'd put Smithills Hall, his home, this place. It's a beautiful house. He put that up as a stake and gambled and lost it. And that's how this hall went to the Bolton Council own it now. They stepped in and bought it. And do you know how much they bought this beautiful hall for? I think it's got about 20 bedrooms or something like that. Think about it. It's a listed building. It dates back to the 1500s. It's got about 18 bedrooms or whatever. It's all made of stone. And Bolton Council bought it for £22,000. Yep, that's right guys, 22,000. And the bill is still on the wall inside. In the daytime you can go in and look at the museum and stuff. The bill that Bolton Council paid for it is still there, £22,000. So his gambling debts amounted to £22,000 probably. Alright, this is the Celtic Cross. So I'm going to put the EMF meter right here because this cross used to be in the town centre, in Bolton town centre. It used to be in the marketplace. Back then it was an area called Churchgate. Now I would be surprised if this cross doesn't pull forward some different ghosts not attached to Smithills Hall, to be honest, because where this cross was placed was an execution point. It was the guillotine point. And I do know the Earl of Derby was guillotined in Bolton. He spent his last night at the Man and Scythe Inn, which is still there today. And he was guillotined the next morning, and this cross was in that square where the guillotining took place. So I'm guessing that there probably will be some, you know, energies attached to this, some residual energies. So keep an eye on the EMF. I'll put it further down so we can see it better. So on the earlier programmes that we did of Smithills, like right at the beginning, if you go right to the beginning of our list of videos, you've got Ancient Ram and then Smithills Hall. So one of them we did here at this cross, and we set up a pentacle with candles on, you know, to try and sort of provoke a bit of a reaction. It was quite an interesting shoot that actually that night. Now we're not getting anything on the EMF, but let's look round and I'll show you the hall. It's quite a good view of it from here. Such a still night, really still. Sometimes let's just watch and wait and see what happens. Are there any spirit people walking up this path? There used to be a summer house here. Perhaps you'd like to come back to the summer house? I'm Alison. We have a device here that if you go near it, it will flicker with your presence. This one's been acting up lately. The batteries are like flipping. Maybe the batteries have gone on it. Andy is further down with something that you can talk to him. He can hear you speak. So we've gone separate tonight, so you can have a chance to speak to either one of us. We'll keep quiet. Alright, let's take a walk over there. Now, if you watched the episode where we did the seance on the table and we set it up like a card game and all that and gambling and everything, and a dog walker came along and he gave us a little bit of history and information and stuff. Well, this is where we were on these tables over here. And I think that night, if I remember, we got a flash of light. And we thought one of the torches had rolled, and we looked and none of the torches had moved, and we just saw this flash and it was gone. And even now we don't even know what that was. But if you watch that video back, I think it's gambling at Smithills Hall, something like that. It says gambling in the title. Have you watched that one? We filmed it right here at these tables, and we had playing cards and all that, and we was pretending to gamble and stuff like that. Oh, excuse me, guys. Oh my god, it's not very good filming. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. And it was like something just flashed really bright, and then went out. And we thought, oh, one of the torches had just rolled, fell on the floor. And when we looked, no torches had moved. So we can only assume that was a spiritual thing, because we've no clue what that was. To be fair, I don't know. Usually we try and debunk stuff, and give it some reason, but this, no, we couldn't, not with that, we couldn't. So let's put the EMF meter down and see. If you see any torchlight down there, it's because I think Andy's working at the other side, trying to get some activity up. So I'll show you a bit more of the hall now we're up here. Are there any spirit people present who would like to make themselves known? Please come forward. Come and show yourself at the windows. Oh my god, I thought I saw something then. Sorry guys, just a bit jumpy then. I think it was just a moth, but oh god, it made me jump that. It just come right across. I think it was a moth. Well no, because we'll have filmed it. Sorry about that. I don't like to do that with the camera, because I think you're going to fall off your couches at home. It just flew straight in and I thought, oh my god, it's an orb. But you've got to think about, like, you've got a bright torch on your head and the moths are going to come, and sometimes it's natural, things that are, it's normal stuff, it's not paranormal. I said 99 times out of 100 it can be explained away. But there's always that little 1% that you can't explain away. And that's the 1% that I'm interested in. So if there are any spirit people here, please, would you like to come forward? Let us hear you on camera. It's about 4:15 a.m. now. That's why the dawn's just starting to break. We couldn't come till after 3 because the ghost investigation group were here. But maybe you're a ghost who likes to roam between 3 and 4, between 3 and 5 a.m. Servants would have been getting up at that time. But the thing is, these halls and places and castles in England that have been around for like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, we only know what is documented. And I think about all the other stories and things that went on that have not been documented. The parties, the birthday parties. There's a ballroom upstairs in this place. The ballroom, the ball parties, and the hunting parties and funerals and christenings and all the normal stuff that goes on in people's lives. Would anybody like to come forward and share their life history with me? Let's get a little bit closer to the hole. That EMF meter's not flickering at all, but you know what? It might be the battery, to be fair, guys. I think it's due to be changed, so I'm going to have to check that. We'll not go around the corner because Andy's working on the other side. He's sort of aiming up the Tudor bit. This is the Victorian bit, this bit. This was built on 1800 to 1900 by the Ainsworth family that owned it. Please come forward if you're here. Let me see you. Or let me hear you. I'm Alison. And you know that we're always up here looking for ghosts. And you know on a couple of occasions we've actually encountered ghosts up here. I saw the hooded figure. It came straight through that window there, but I was in there inside in that room. And it came from the chapel, right through and up. But when he was using the chapel, this building wouldn't have been here. So that's an example of ghosts walking through the wall because they think, you know, it wasn't there when they lived. He was just a hooded monk, and I saw him for about 10 seconds and he was gone. And I filmed him on my phone. That was in 2014. 10 years ago exactly. I think I'm going to give up with the EMF, guys, because I think it's actually just died on us. It's okay. This place is spooky enough without that. I think because the thing is we're out all the time, you know what I mean? And literally sometimes the batteries just have to die to tell us that they need replacing because we're that busy. Because me and Andy, you know, we work all week and then weekend we just literally go out and do this all the time. So we carry a lot of equipment around with us and a lot of batteries and stuff. And sometimes you think, oh my God, has that gone now? We will get ourselves better organised as we progress. We've just completed our first year on YouTube. Oh, they started to plant sunflowers here now. I like sunflowers. Nice big floppy, I love them, big floppy flowers. Alright, so we're coming round to the front of the hall now. Now there have been, and we're here at exactly the right time to be fair. Between 3 and 4 a.m. we've had reports of hearing horses' hooves and like a cart rolling up. But I think that it's a funeral, you know, being recreated. This is the front. So this is the entrance. Are there any spirit people would like to come forward, please, from this door? Come outside and show yourself. Come out through the hallway and out into the fresh air. Come and see the flowers, they're lovely. So this is where we are, guys. I'll just give you the title of the place in case you want to come and check it out yourselves. Smithills Hall, Bolton. It's about 20 miles from Manchester city centre. It's starting to get daylight now. Alright, so we're going to go down and to the Haunted Bridge. Now if anybody's watched our previous episodes of Smithills, they will have seen probably the Haunted Bridge as well. So this Haunted Bridge has a story attached that a lady belonging to this hall, a young lady belonging to this hall, was dating one of the stable boys who worked at the coaching house on the other side, which is now privately owned, apartments and stuff, so we can't go in there. And they used to meet on this bridge, but then the family found out and forbid them to see each other ever again. I just heard a thud. I definitely just heard a thud. Is somebody there, please? Oh, I heard a bird squawking. Maybe that's what made the noise. Yeah, there's a bird. That might be a heron. Probably a heron, that. You know, they go on their own, herons. They have long legs and they're wading birds. There's a big pond at the back here, so perhaps you've always got to be in summer especially. These little noises you hear can most of the time be animals moving about and stuff. not everything is paranormal, unfortunately. We've been doing it that long now that we know you have to debunk stuff with animals, you know, and things like that, and rain, other things. But if anybody would like to come forward, if there are any spirits lingering on this bridge, so that's the hall there, and we're going to go to the bridge right here. So we have done a couple of rituals on this bridge in the past, and if you look back at our older Smithills series, there's one right at the beginning when we first started shooting 12 months ago, and there's recently we did an inside overnight vigil. They're all filmed in this area, and we did different rituals. We did scrying in the mirror on the bridge right here, one of the things that we did, because this is the point where the boy and the girl used to meet, and they were forbidden to see each other because she was wealthy family, prospects, you know, good school, education, marry a rich man, and he was a stable hand who worked over there at the coaching house looking after the horses. So they were on different levels, you know, society wouldn't allow them to be together. They used to meet on this bridge secretly, and they got caught out. Now the story is, I don't know whether one jumped over into that ravine down there, which you can, so deep you can hardly see it. It's just, must have been here because this is where the water is, so they must have jumped here. But you know, local people come up and leave hearts and things here at this point, so it must have been here where it happened. Yeah, there's the ravine down there. So one of them, or both of them, I'm not sure, might have jumped. The story's not 100% whether it was one or both. But people leave hearts on this bit of ledge here for them, you know, chocolate hearts and things like that, just to remember the story, really. How sad. That's what it was like back in those days. You had to marry, you know, money married money, and working class stayed with working class, and the two was not able to meet, really. But in England, how many children were born from wealthy men that owned halls such as this one, and serving maids? So many serving maids got pregnant and then had to disappear into the country or go home and have the babies and then live in disgrace, and then nobody wanted to marry them then because they had the baby of, you know, here it would have been like Colonel Ainsworth or someone like that, and the father would just ignore it because, well, he'd already got his family. He didn't need a serving girl and her baby. And this story is repeated through all the different halls and castles throughout England. There's many a sad ghost, you know, like weeping ladies and things like that who've been left deserted, or children, you know, orphaned because nobody wants them because they're illegitimate. So there's plenty ghosts attached to places like these. And the theory with the stone is that the stone tape theory, if you've heard it already, it can record, you know, events and then replay them back, and that's when we see the ghost reenacting it like a residual energy. So because I grew up around here, obviously I know that most of the ghost stories get passed down, and you can come up here in the daytime and they'll tell you if they've had any recent sightings and things like that. But I moved to Manchester and lived and worked there for 10 years, so I kind of lost touch with this place. But my dad still used to come up, walking the dog every night. And so that's when he saw the priest. Because I remember I came home that weekend and he was really excited. He said, "Oh my God, it finally happened." And I'm like, "What?" He said, I saw a ghost. I'm like, "What, Smithills?" And he was like, "Yeah, I saw a priest." So he was happy then because he'd seen one. And I think I'm the same. I mean, I have seen one, but it was so quick. My brain didn't get a chance to take it in. Right, what we're going to do, we're going to go down this bit of a path, partly into the forest. Now, this is where we did the shoot for the Haunted Woods. We started it and we walked it down here to the abandoned mill. But we're going to turn off and go up a path and back to the hall, because they do have another path going up to it from here. So if any spirit people, I'm going to say spirit paupers then. Well, yeah, you could come through too if you want. Spirit paupers. Any spirit people at all. if you'd like to come along this path, show yourself. Let us hear you on camera. And show us an orb. Anything you like, anything you can do. I'm sure you must have taken a walk down into the woods from the hall when you lived here, or if you worked here even, on your days off. Always have a look behind too, because you never know if something's following you. It's creepy really to think that, but we always film forwards, don't we? Maybe I should get a GoPro and stick it on the back of my head, then we can film at the back as well. Then we've got a front view and a back view. Maybe we've got more chance then of catching ghosts. Actually, you know what? That's not a bad idea, is it? That's not a bad idea. Let's get a GoPro camera. Like this torch, you can stick it on your head, have it facing backwards. And then if there's anything following, you can pick it up. I'm going to suggest that to Andy. We need a couple of GoPros. Oh, look at that. I saw a little like newt thing, like a frog hopping across there. It's that time of year now though, it's summer innit, all the animals are out. It's like, well, it's July but it's done nothing but rain here. Welcome to England, guys. Right, so the path is just, have I gone past it? No, I've not got there yet. It's all overgrown, right, it's overgrown. Yeah, so the haunted woods, if you carry on down that path there, down into the woods, that's where the abandoned mill is, where we did the scrying, and also carry further on, you come to the abandoned cottage. So we're going to turn right and go up the path back to the hall. It's just like a enchanted forest from the fairy tale. Yeah, so this is the path back up to the hall. So this is the path that they probably would have used coming down for a walk if they wanted. Now, this is the path that I would have thought the priest would have been seen. But he didn't come through it. When my dad saw it, he said it went straight through the shrubs. It didn't come down this path, so there must have been at one time a different path. And in the 1200s, there were about a dozen, like, monks, if you like, living here. And the place was only tiny then. And it's been built on and built on over the years. Quick look on this path, see if there's anything. Right, do you know what? I think we're going to sit down and just watch for a bit because this is roughly the area. God, the benches are all piss wet through. It's alright, we'll sit here. Yeah, this was roughly where it's lit up there. Dad saw the ghost going across there and into the shrubs roughly about there. So there must have been back in the sort of, I mean that church is 1800s, but there was a chapel before it, a smaller one. So they think the priest that gets seen is roughly about 1800s, so he must have been connected to this church. And he seems to come out and go across and go that way. But the one that I saw must have been connected to when it was a chapel, because I was in Lady Ainsworth's room and he literally came through the wall quick and out, and it was just a black hooded figure. That's all I can describe it as. I'll keep my eye on them rooms that are lit up upstairs because there's nobody in there now, right? They locked it up at 3 and they all left and locked the gates up, so there shouldn't be anybody in there. Now George Marsh's room is just, let me zoom in. I'll just put my torch down and I can zoom in and show you, which is the George Marsh room. And the George Marsh room is the most haunted room in the house, right? There, that window that's lit up, and to the right of it there, that's the George Marsh room. Now that's where he was tried, like a court case. So just keep an eye on that stained glass, that sort of leaded glass there, in case if any figures passed by there, that's ghost, because there ain't nobody in there right now. Nobody, not even security. They don't work here anymore. They won't come. They won't spend the night. So many security have freaked out and run off now from here. They just won't work here anymore. So what they do is they lock it up, they go home. And I think it's got one of them very sure alarm things now where it just, if anything tries to get, if anybody gets in, they can pick it up. Not on the outskirts, they're not bothered about here. Just inside. So if you see anybody moving about now, it's going to be paranormal. 100%. Because there's nobody in. They used to have 24/7 security, but then they struggle keeping people because of all the weird experiences and things that were going on. Oh, sorry guys. So yeah, it's been many sightings here. So my dad had one, I had one. My mum had a ghost sighting, but it wasn't here. She's had two. One in the house that we used to live in, like I told you. She saw an old lady in a rocking chair. And then the second one was at a church that she used to go to. She saw a priest and there was nobody there. But two of us in our family have seen something here. And the staff have had quite a few experiences up here. I mean, I suppose the best thing would be to strap GoPro cameras to trees, wouldn't it? And leave them running on facing the hall. Just leave them running and then just check the footage back and see if there's anything showing up. Because then, I mean, they have security cameras inside. But it's like, does anybody bother to check through all the footage? Are there any spirit? Is George Marsh here? Would you like to come across the lawn and talk to us? Tell us your story? Pretty much know most of it. He was one of those Church of England priests, or reverend if you like, that wouldn't convert to Catholic. So they arrested him and they took him to that room that we homed in on just a minute ago. Try and get back out again. Just trying to juggle the torch. This is what happens when you're filming alone. You need the extra hand. You need an extra arm or something. That room up there, he was taken up there and he was court case and everything. And he came down a flight of spiral stairs and stomped his foot hard in the floor, and there's a footprint there. And the legend is that the footprint fills with blood on his anniversary, but you know what? It's only like a piece of sort of stone paving with a funny shape in it. It's not really, it's just, but it's a nice little legend though. So he's the most prominent ghost that's been seen here. And he is a hooded robe, white hair, white beard. Who does that sound like? Yeah, but he's got more hair than Andy. He has like long white curly hair, white beard, hooded robe. And he's only short because they were all a lot shorter back then, so he's probably only like about not even 5 foot high. And he's been seen inside sitting on the stairs. Upstairs, that they call it the George Marsh room, that one, because of, you know, what happened in there. And he's been seen in that area. In there now they've got a table and a crucifix and like a Bible, just set it up like an altar. And one night, they also do here ghost and history tours, sort of 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. or whatever, 11. And I was on one of them one night, just having a walk round, you know, not really doing paranormal at all, just wandering around, just looking. And I came into the George Marsh room, and my sister and my mum was with me, and then they just walked off and disappeared and went looking at something else. So I was in on my own, and I was having a good look round, and the door slammed, right? And I was like banging on the door and shouting, "You've locked me in, you've locked me in." I'm thinking they were locking up. And I was panicking, and honestly, it's a scary experience when you're locked in a room and nobody's opening the door and you can't get out. Just banging my hands on the door and everything. Anyway, a lady opened the door, one of the people that works here, and she goes, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I came in here and the door slammed." She said, "Well, I've just come round now to lock up. There's nobody up here, but I didn't think there was anybody up here at all." I was like, "No ways." I said, "I've been up here for at least 10-15 minutes on my own." I said, "Mum and my sister were here, but they've gone back down the stairs now. And I thought somebody was up here with me." And she said, "No, I was coming round to check that everywhere was clear, and all I heard was you banging on the door and shouting. And the door had slammed and I got locked in." So I didn't know really whether it was a person, you know, or whether it was paranormal, because I was in the room and the door slammed on me, so I don't know. But either ways, it was a scary experience, whether it was a person who slammed the door accidental, you know, or whether it was a paranormal. It was still scary anyway, so I just freaked out and ran down. I was like, "Oh my God." And they don't always, well, they must have opened it tonight because the lights are on. Sometimes they open it, sometimes they don't. Anyway, what happened to him, George Marsh? So they took him up to Lancaster Castle, you know, where we shot the witches thing recently. And they kept him incarcerated there for 6 months or something. And then they took him all the way down to Chester and burned him at the stake there with hot tar. And that was his death. Really slow, cruel, gruesome, burning, you know, at the stake death. There is some sketches of him inside, hung up on the walls. And that's why they know it's him, because the sketches look exactly like the guy that they've seen. So George Marsh is the most prominent ghost here, but because this place has so many levels to it, it's got like 1200, 13, 14, 1500 to true debate, where Andy's doing his shoot tonight separately, so you'll see that if you watch when you watch Andy's footage. He's done the Tudor quadrangle tonight. We've just gone around the perimeter of it. And then there's the Victorian bit. When the Ainsworth bought it in 1800, they added on for over 200 years, extended it, so it's become what it is now. So it's got layers and layers and layers of history. I think the earliest ghost was the one that I saw was 1200s. And the more recent ghosts, well, it used to be a care home at one point, but the elderly people were really, really, really like agitated and not settling and crying and all that. And when they got asked, they all kept saying, "It's haunted, it's haunted, it's haunted. Doors are slamming. It's horrible here. We need," you know, they had to move them out in the end. So then they changed it into a mental health sort of, respite place. And those patients were saying the same thing. They were saying it's haunted. There's doors slamming. There's feet running. It's haunted. And one of the wings. In fact, you know what? We'll walk up to it and show you before we finish, because we've got time to get back up to it. This wing I'm going to show you now. They've been trying to renovate it now for about 30 years that I know of. And they can't complete it because every time they get a team of plumbers and electricians to work in it, they run off and leave because they're too terrified to stay. And this is like people who are working during the day. So I met one of these electricians and he told me his story, and he said to me, "I didn't believe in ghosts." He said, until I went to do the electrics at Smithills Hall. He said, and after 5 weeks I did a runner. He said, and I didn't go back. So he said, and it changed my view. He said, what happened to me? He said, it changed my view. I said, all right, what happened? He said, well, where we were working, he said, we were doing all the electrics. He said, and we put our tools away in a box and locked it. He said, and we came down for our dinner, went and sat outside and had pasties and coffee and what have you. All together, all of them. He said, and when we went back in, he said, the toolbox had been opened and the tools had been thrown, scattered everywhere. He said, and we were all freaking out. He said, first we were all blaming each other. It was you, it was you, it was you. And then we realised they were all together. And there's no one else in. So they freaked out. They carried on working. But the engineer, the electrician I was talking to, said he was on his own up there and doors started slamming and banging. He said, I was off. He said, I legged it. He said, I even left my tools. He said, I just went. He said, that was it. That were it for me. I went. I didn't come back. And I'll show you now the exact corridor where these guys have been working, where it's never got completed because there's just one thing after another happening up there. When Most Haunted did come to do it in the early 2000s, they did have a door slam on them as well. Now, I'm always a bit sceptical with that programme, to be fair, but you know, if it happened, if it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't. Now that's the corridor. That's the corridor where they all were working. They can't complete it. Every time they try and complete it, something happens. So we'll go and have a walk around the other side and we'll find Andy, and I'll show you the other side of that corridor where it runs to. And you never know, we might have picked up some orbs on our footage. We might have picked up some sounds, some feet, or some laughter, anything like that. It's just coming dawn now, look. So we'll go and find Andy, because he'll be ready to wrap up his shoot as well. And we're going to load this on separately, separate vigils. And we're going to do this now in future at 1 or 2 locations, separate vigils. Just so that we can get more experience on our own, really, in case anything paranormal happens. That's the George Marsh room, the one at the top there, that one. And also you've got more chance, I think, of capturing stuff if you're in 2 separate parts, and because you're covering more ground. So I think Andy's probably still back around this side doing his whatever he's doing. You'll see it anyway, so you'll know what he's been doing. I like to do the history and the ghost stories and just walk the route, you know. And if I've got any paranormal equipment on me, I'll use it. But Andy's one who likes to really invoke spirits to come forward and then use apps to try and communicate and all that. He's a bit more high tech on it than I am. There's Andy now. So that's the Tudor quadrangle bit that we didn't go around tonight because Andy's been doing this bit. We'll just have a quick walk around it and we'll meet Andy at the other side. So this is the Tudor part of the hall. It's all haunted, all of it. But Andy's done his vigil around here tonight, so we'll see if he's got anything. And we walk around the grounds and the perimeter, the rest of it. And this door coming up is the oldest door at the hall. This is the original building, this is 1200. This is the original door and the original window. It's the original bit. This is all added on. The birds are getting up now, see? You hear them? Dawn. Funny because I'm just going to bed now when I get in, and this time tomorrow I'll be just going out. It's gone. Perhaps it was a ghost. There was definitely a black figure stood here. Now he's down there. It's shifted. I think he's getting too much into it because he's even walked straight past us and not even known we're here. Could have been a ghost and he hasn't even spotted us. We're wearing bright yellow as well. How's he missed us? Some ghost hunter, he can't even see real life human beings. There's not much chance with ghosts, is he, if you can see straight through them? You can't even see solid people. Look at these windows. They look beautiful lit up, don't they? But you know what? All the designs are different. Look at them. Now these are a different style. And these are a different style. And I heard that each